When he says that he wants something, I'm supposed to comply with it. He'll say, go close the door, strip, and send me something.
While he's still in the meeting.
While he's still in the meeting.
We are back with the NYPD overtime scandal. I'm sure you guys are familiar with this if you've been checking out the channel. It's been a crazy situation with the ex-NYPD Chief Jeffrey Maddrey. He was exchanging overtime for booty, allegedly. It was one of the more dirtiest overtime schemes that NYPD has ever seen. So this whole thing has been crashing down. The chief has quit. And one of them is pulling the ultimate plot twist, playing the victim to dodge the fallout. We're going to check out an interview from Lieutenant Epps and see if her story adds up. We've been covering this scandal for quite some time now, and it has been some updates that we need to break down. So this whole scandal started when a 19-year NYPD veteran made headlines for pulling a staggering $406,000 in overtime. And that's not even the crazy part. She claims that her former boss, Chief Jeffrey Maddrey, coerced her into giving her cuts from that overtime, and even demanded $3,000 for a Miami trip with his wife. Epps also dropped some heavy accusations about sexual coercion, saying Maddrey forced her to perform and send explicit content, sometimes even while he was in meetings. But here's the catch. Maddrey insists that this all was consensual, and there's no solid evidence so far that I can see backing up that she was forced to do this. Plus, Epps conveniently filed for early retirement as the scandal was breaking, making it look like she was trying to escape before everything hits the fan. But now she says that she's a victim in all of this. So the real question is Epps generally a victim here, or she's playing the blame game to dodge accountability? So shout out to YouTuber Messi Machan. She talked about this in her stream a couple of days ago. Totally missed this, but it's here. We're gonna watch it. It's only 3 minutes, a quick interview. Let's dive into her interview and pick apart what she's saying.
Last night at 11, we heard for the first time from the NYPD lieutenant who is accusing the former chief of department of sexual harassment. And that was only part of the story. Lieutenant Quicken Epps is also at the middle of an NYPD overtime scandal that has shaken up the department. Eyewitness News reporter Darla Miles has the rest of the story.
I did not sign off on any of my overtime. You cannot self-certify.
During fiscal year 2024, Lieutenant Quicken Epps more than doubled her salary with overtime, taking home $406,000.
That is completely outrageous, the amount of money that her and multiple officers that was under Jeffrey Maddrey, allegedly, these people were earning so much money. And so far, only Quicken Epps has brought out the I've been forced to, or there was some kind of issues happening behind the scenes. The other officers, they took that money, and I haven't heard anyone saying that they were forced to do this. So it's interesting that she is the only one that's coming up with this narrative.
I can explain my overtime. I don't know if he was willing to explain
your overtime.
My overtime.
So she straight up claims that she didn't sign off on her own overtime and that it's impossible to self-certify during the fiscal year 2024. But somehow she still managed to more than double her salary to the $406,000 through overtime alone. That's not just a little cash. That's an entire second career's worth of income. You can't just accidentally whoopsie-doo stumble into making that much money. Even if she didn't technically sign off on it, there's no way she didn't know what was going on. Then she hits us with his Jim. I can explain my overtime. I don't know if he's willing to explain his overtime. But this is a classic misdirect. She's basically saying, hey, don't look at me, look at him. It's similar to trying to distract a cop from your speeding ticket by pointing out someone else was flying past at the same time. Just because she didn't directly sign off on it doesn't mean that she wasn't fully aware of how and why the cash was flowing in. That's exactly what Epps is doing here, trying to make Maddrey look like he's the bigger problem to distract from her own mess. Let's see if she actually takes accountability for anything in this interview. Probably not. But just because someone else is guilty does not mean that you're off the hook. That's not how accountability works. And it's definitely not how integrity works either. She's either being willfully ignorant or playing dumb to dodge the heat. Either way, it's sketchy as hell.
But that's only half the story, according to an EEOC complaint she filed in December that says her boss, former Chief of Department Jeffrey Maddrey, demanded monetary compensation in return, including requiring her to fund a trip to Miami for him and his wife.
He says that, oh, you're going to start cutting me some of that overtime. So I would give him money. There was a day that he had me in his office after the bar exam. He told me to call his wife, act like I was like giving them a gift of, a gift of something. It's like $3,000.
Did you give them that $3,000?
Yes, I did.
Epps says it was during this time period that she was being sexually harassed and assaulted by Maddrey. And
So now she's claiming that Marjorie demanded a cut from her overtime money, and he told her that he wanted $3,000 to fund a trip to Miami for him and his wife. Where's the evidence of that? I didn't see that there. It seemed like they just moved on to the next subject. There's zero evidence to back up what she just said. Where's the receipts? Is there any text? Is there any witnesses? It's just, he made me do it. Where is the information that can totally blow this whole thing open? Hey, I want my wife to think that you're giving a gift. Like, where's the evidence? And let's think about that. If she really felt that force of pressure, why hand the money at all? If you're generally being coerced, there's usually some sort of threat. Where's the threat? There's no mention of him saying, if you don't pay up, I'll ruin your career. Nothing like that. She just handed over the cash and then acted like she was doing it as a gift. It's like picturing a kid in school who cheats on a test and then when caught tries to claim that they were just helping a friend study. They handed them over the answers without thinking about the consequences. When the teacher catches them, suddenly they act like they're doing a good deed. That's what this feels like. Epps is acting like she was being generous or compliant when really she knew what she was getting herself into. It's like trying to clean up your mess after you already been caught spilling the paint. It just comes off like she's trying to play both sides, looking like a victim while also trying to show that she was being compliant and cooperative. But if that's the case, it doesn't explain why she didn't just say no or report it at the time. It reeks of someone trying to cover their tracks after the fact.
What her attorney calls a textbook case of predatory abuse and victim silencing, using coercion to obtain compromising material, then weaponizing it to instill fear.
When he says that he wants something, I'm supposed to comply with it. He'll say, go, close the door and close the door strip and send me something.
While he's still in the meeting.
While he's still in the meeting.
If you didn't?
There were not very many times that I didn't.
All right, now, so we're getting into more of the heavier stuff. She's accusing Marjorie of demanding sexual favors, sometimes during the meetings. According to her, he'll call her in, shut the door, and order her to strip or send photos. And that's a very serious accusation. But if this went on for so long and it was that intense, why didn't she report it earlier? Also, Marjorie and his lawyer talked about this a couple of months ago, and they have their own rebuttal on exactly the situation between her and the chief. And according to the chief, this was consensual.
Did you force sexual favors from a subordinate, NYPD lieutenant? Did you force that in exchange for overtime approval and other perks signed off by you?
Absolutely not.
What happened here?
And we have tons of evidence by way of text messages, photographs, videos, phone records, and X-rated and racy videos and photographs from Lieutenant Epps, who is a self-professed swinger.
It seems to be that Lieutenant Epps is under investigation internally by the NYPD since October. And the allegations are that not only was she putting in for excessive overtime, but that she was actually putting in for overtime that she had not completed or done, so that she was effectively stealing time.
And she knew she was being investigated. She applied to retire on December 16th. That same day, she attended the chief of department's Christmas party along with 40 of her colleagues, where she was smiling and thanking everyone. She even texted that night to the chief her gratitude. 2 days later, the Internal Affairs Bureau suspended her for the issue with her overtime, which the decision to suspend her had nothing to do with Chief Marjorie. She filed a complaint on December 20th, and it was co-signed by the same lawyer who in the past has unsuccessfully sued Jeff for a plaintiff named Tabitha Foster. Halfway through the Tabitha Foster case, Attorney Sanders ditched his client and ran for the hills. She got other attorneys, but that case was dismissed, and she now has to pay costs for bringing her meritless case.
Now, if Marjorie was truly this predatory, and I think he was just a person trying to take as much taxpayer dollars as possible. He wasn't a great chief, obviously, but if he was this kind of predator, right? Shouldn't there be some kind of paper trail or some kind of prior complaint? What happened to the other officers that he was helping give overtime? Did they have the same issue? Maybe they haven't come out publicly yet. We will continue to check the story out. But we're talking about Epps here. If she really felt threatened for her job or her safety, why not document it in some way? Again, where's the text? Where's the recordings? Something to back up the story. Is there any messages where he's forcing her to send the videos or the pictures? The big gap is that she never says that he explicitly threaten her job or her safety if she didn't comply. That's extremely important because it changes the dynamic from outright coercion to something more like something consensual. Even if it's unethical and just is messy, it feels like she's leaning into the victim angle because it's the easiest way to save herself and that pension now that the whole scheme blew up.
And as the overtime scandal was brewing in December, Epps decided to file for early retirement, which would require approval by Commissioner Tisch to leave the department in good standing.
And then he says that he's going to go upstairs and talk to her. I'll go upstairs and talk to her. I'll go upstairs and come here, come here, come here. And pulls my arm. And he takes me by my neck, pulling my head like closer to his groin. And he says, just kiss it a little bit. Just kiss it a little bit and let me get my mind right so I can get my mind right and go upstairs and talk to her.
1 month later, the Queens home of Madry searched by federal agents in this overtime abuse scandal that led to a shakeup in internal affairs.
And this is where I think Epps has a bit of a problem and has a lot to explain. Epps filed for early retirement right as the scandal was making headlines. That's not the move of someone trying to expose corruption. That's someone trying to secure their benefits and dip out before the roof caves in. If she genuinely felt like she was being harassed and exploited, why not report it before taking the retirement route? It makes it look like she's more worried about losing her pension than actually getting justice. Filing for retirement in the middle of a scandal screams, I'm out before they fire me. And you'll notice how her and Madry retired without any departmental charges sticking. They dipped out just in time. It looks like they knew that the walls were closing in and figured retirement was the easiest escape plan.
The chief and more than a dozen high-ranking officials NIA removed from their post. Madry denying the allegations of overtime abuse and sexual misconduct. His attorney telling Eyewitness News in response to this report, we look forward to total vindication. Epps seeking the same.
Maybe in speaking out, maybe other victims will dig deep and find some courage in a place where I couldn't even find courage, that they may feel like they don't have to sit quietly in these situations, that this is wrong.
After initially being suspended, both Lieutenant Epps and Chief Madry have retired from the NYPD without any departmental charges of overtime abuse. Madry, however, is still under investigation by federal authorities who have contacted Epps about their investigation. Darla Miles, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
So as you can see at the end of the interview, she's practically begging other victims to come forward, saying that maybe other victims will dig deep and find some courage, which I understand. Hey, at this point, if this is true and he was abusing a lot of people, someone else should be coming forward at this point, because it probably saves their situation as well when they start to investigate to see exactly how crazy this overtime situation was. So I know she's trying to pull this redemption arc, and I think she's trying to come off as some sort of hero than actually being accountable. She never said, I did wrong too. I am wrong in this situation. I exploited this system. She's throwing around that courage narrative to make it seem like she's breaking the silence for the greater good. But again, it's just the suspicious timing of this courage lines up with her way to try to salvage her reputation and her pension. Honestly, it just feels like she's positioning herself as the victim to get ahead of any blame. She knows that public sympathy is a powerful tool, especially when the alternative is being painted as a corrupt cop who got greedy and is now trying to wiggle themselves out of it. This whole scandal just smells like two people who thought that they can game the system for a long time, and now as they got caught with their hand in a cookie jar, everyone is scrambling to spin a narrative to come clean while throwing Jeff Madry under the bus. Now, I will say this right now, Jeffrey Madry deserves to be fired. He probably should have his pension taken away too. He used his power to facilitate all this booty exchanges and overtime exploitation. All of our tax dollars helped him to secure a lot of booty, apparently. But when it comes to Epps, if she really wanted justice or to expose misconduct, maybe she should have done this long before cashing out that $400,000, $600,000 and filing for retirement. It's not about courage or justice. It's about self-preservation. This story is packed with a lot of holes, and this whole I'm just a victim act doesn't add up. She's trying to save her career and her reputation, and now the truth is blowing up in her face. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys think differently. Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for taking time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.